We should be ready to get underway with this one. Marine Lord versus Cup. Who would win? The 50th ranked player or the first ranked player? Wow, when I put it like that, it doesn't seem very fair, does it? Well, we'll see if he can even up the odds, as he's going to be playing the old but true combo. England versus France. On Dry Arabia. Are we back in release week? Because I feel like we're back in release week. Because this was kind of one of the classic matchups. And as to be said, back then, it was fairly heavily favored towards France. Like their ability to just outmask you Knights, raid in, the predictability of the combo for England. It left them a little bit loose, a little bit undesirable. But England's changed, right? England has evolved so much, and they have come so far. I can't even lie. England has very much remained the same for the majority of players. But maybe here there can be a difference. Maybe we can see something spicy. Because it has to be said that our players innovating. Most notably, the one that comes to mind would be Mr. with his horseman spamming England that became infamous in the M4C qualifiers. Everyone started copying. But I've even seen some players build Abbey of Kings, and they assure me it's not for meaningful reasons, but I'm not sure if I still believe them. And I do believe Kalp is one of those players that's been doing it occasionally in pub games. The whole concept, by the way, is if you're going into Abbey of Kings, you're instantly looking to just boom up into Castle. Something that a lot of people have argued you shouldn't be doing as England, because England's power spike is meant to be feudal. They're a tempo setting Civ. It's kind of like picking France and then not trying to raid at all, but instead just saying, I'm going to instantly go Castle. It contradicts what your Civ is capable of in feudal, and you're essentially just sacrificing one of your strongest times to fall back to potentially a weaker time. I think that's less true of France than it is England, though. Because England definitely don't feel like an impactful Civ in Castle Age. A lot of players have been on the bandwagon of supporting this statement. Is that, the landmark choices, like it gives some, snowball potential on the eco side or a strong point to hold back, but it doesn't really give you that wham. It's not like when you go Mongols and you get a step readout and it changes everything about the game, right? It's not like when you drop a Regnitz Cathedral as HRE and once again, it changes everything about your game. It's very much a steady crawl. And I think that's the most notable thing, right? Once you get past that power spike of Longbowman, England kind of have this steady rise towards Imperial. When they arrive Imperial, they become bosses, right? Network of Castles upgrade gets buffed from 25% to 50%. They can get the access to the beautiful enclosures tech, which generates gold every 3.5 seconds on farms. There's a lot that is desirable about Imperial for England. Castle, however, is still a big question mark. We'll have to see if that question mark can be answered by Cap, though. It's going to need to find a way, because I don't know how hard you'll be able to aggress Marine Lord in this situation. Like, not only is he one of the best French players in the game, I think if you try to play tempo in this matchup, you come under fire very easily. It's very kind of fragile the way you have to move out. And we've noted this from a lot of players. Like, if you try to just run forward and drop an outpost near your opponent's base, they're literally just going to run around the side and they're going to cut off your reinforcements, raiding them with Knights. And you don't really have a clear answer because your Lombo Spearman battalion can't move quick enough to do anything. So, curious to see what the plan's going to be. It might be that he goes on the stone, goes for multi-TC plays. I've seen a few England players try this. I think that you can get away with this in Dry Arabia, by the way. It feels a little bit weird, and it seemingly looks impossible because it's such an open map. But in theory, if you get a second TC and drop it near this wood line here where the stone is, like, you can actually bolster yourself long enough and kind of brunt the storm. But Marine Lord, I don't expect him to let you have that much of a freebie of a game. Instead, already prepping himself with the tech up and the wheelbarrow underway. Is wheelbarrow being grabbed on the other side? Yeah. Kalp, he already got it very early on. He delayed himself here. In fact, if you look at the numbers, he still hasn't teched up. And this is something a few England players have been doing. Prioritizing the wheelbarrow at an incredibly early point. Earlier than practically any other Civ in the game. The whole point being is you pad your economy at an earlier point by going to these cheap farms. You enable yourself with the wheelbarrow further. And then you basically reap the rewards 5 to 10 minutes from now. It's a really cool play, though. And it is. Yep, there it is. See, I said Kalp is one of the lads who does this. And it is going to be the Abbey of Kings. And I respect this. This is actually kind of smart from Kalp. Given this matchup, we just highlight the weaknesses. You're playing from behind if you come out in feudal. So really, you don't have the same flexibility that you would against other civs. I think some people don't like those kind of statements where it's like, yeah, France just wins this against England. But it's fairly dominant for France. Like, if I look at the details around the specific matchups, I believe France has a 43.4%. That can't be right. Against England. England is beating France, folks. It's the only Civ it beats. What? So it's 56.6%, 83 games played. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers now. I'm kind of astonished by this as well. England, it's the only positive win rate they have is a matchup against France. But I think that matchup usually isn't on Dry Arabia. That's the detail I'll highlight here. I think Dry Arabia is like more exploitable because there's not natural choke points you can easily hold on to. So honestly, given the map choice, I think Kalp is making the right call doing this. Just seeing if he can make his way up to a high point in the game and maybe bounce back then. I think also this might be somewhat informed by the fact he's up against M-Lord. Maybe I'm also informed by the fact he's up against M-Lord. Like, biased caster, am I right? Right? This is arguably like the best French player in the game. Not just in real life, but in terms of this Civ. He's remarkable. The way he pulls his opponent apart just essentially strips him like chicken strips, right? Like just 5 or 6 different raids going on at once. It's hard for even the best players in the game to react to all of that. So I think Kalp trying for this style where he just plays more defensive and prioritizes all of his focus on his own base isn't the worst move if that threat is kind of looming in your mind. But I'm still really kind of surprised that the win rate is that high for England against France. That must be recent games because they're on a downward trend. For those that aren't familiar with how bad England are looking in the high level right now, the qualifiers, the Golden League that just went underway, I think they finished with about a 20% win rate with maybe about 40 games played at least. Then when you look at the high level of the leaderboard, as in over 1,600 ELO rating, their win rate is below 50% against any Civ but France. In fact, I believe total-wise, they're the worst performing. Yeah, so if you combine all their games, they're 41% win rate. The next closest is HRE at 47.5%. Anyway, that's enough of numbers. Me shouty, man. Gotta be more small brain than this. Marine Lord is going to be going to the Pro Scouts, and that is not going to be intercepted at all by Kalp. Kalp has got the information on this, so he should know that Marine Lord is playing a little bit more greedy. But the beautiful thing about going Pro Scouts like this is it doesn't disable your ability to raid as France. And that's why we're already going to see some Knights starting to move out, and I wouldn't be surprised if Marine Lord starts to queue up more. Although he has to be a little bit concerned right now because he hasn't seen a single Lombo. He is going to see the spears now. Oh, and they're going to pinch him. Not able to grab quick enough, though. Marine Lord will pull off just in time before he gets blocked by the tree line. And this is bad news for Kalp because Marine Lord just got the authentication to drop a second archery range. Like, as soon as he sees that many spears and he hasn't seen any Lombos, he's going to feel quite confident that Archers and Knights wins this game. And he'd be right now. Because Kalp fully sacrificed his ability to flex his army at this stage in the game, considering he's dropping palisades and building farms, he doesn't have the surplus wood to then also afford double archery range to try and match what his opponent is now doing. And it has to be said, in this situation, I don't think you even try to match what your opponent's doing. I actually think the right move for Kalp right now, which would be pretty epic, if he wants to drag Feudal a little bit, if he feels he needs to hang around or like buffer his opponent away, if you drop double stable and build Horseman, I think it's actually a phenomenal composition against the French here. And it will catch Marine Lord off guard. Like, he's got 1-2 Horsemen himself. He hasn't got that many Knights yet. He's gone double archery range. Like, you kind of catch him with his trousers down. The issue, however, is that Kalp hasn't scouted this. And I don't think he ever will, because he only has one scout. And that scout needs to be near his spearman. He's paranoid. He doesn't want to get in range of the archers and be punished and not be able to peel away in time. And the horseman, oh, not paying attention. Kalp gets him. Nice freebie there. 120 resources wasted by Marine Lord. Resources that he'll wish he had right now, because Kalp is racing towards it. And I love this move with the spearman forward. A lot of players wouldn't have come this far in. They would have stayed around the midfield or fallen back. This is a bait. If you do that, you kind of surrender your own base because Marine Lord would be there. Instead, because you're showing up in his base, he has to knee-jerk react to what you're doing. It means that he's on the defensive while you're looking to tech up. This is the way you do it, folks. If you want to go greedy, if you want to tech like this, set the aggression and set where the line is drawn and draw it as close to your opponent's town center as possible. And now the spears will run away. And the Knight can't easily engage here. This is the pesky part. Your archers can't do anything now. And by the time you chase across the map, the tech up might be complete. But if you look at the military force, it's not big for Marine Lord, right? Like, he's got 3 Knights. 3 Knights and a couple of archers. Meanwhile, his opponent is about to get access to a whole lot more. Stables being dropped. Rax is prepped and ready to build into more spears and even upgrade into veterans if need be. And I wouldn't be surprised if he quickly drops an archery range as well. Really big credit to Kalp. Like, this is very condensed as well. He's kind of aware well, not even kind of, he's fully aware, right, of the lethality of France, and he's actually giving a lot of respect to Marine Lord. A lot of players would have dropped this King's Palace a little bit deeper near the wood line, and it would have meant a longer run away, and you would have been a little bit more exposed, and your timing would have been delayed slightly more. And you can see the difference it would make. Marine Lord is already your base. Had you delayed this further, you might not get the King's Palace complete. And Knights have to peel back, as the Spearmen will sacrifice their life to buy time here. Kaup needs time as well. He just completed the tech up, but he's not safe just yet. He's still left a big fat entrance into his base at the front. And M-Lord is going to look to station himself in this area, snatching away the deer, padding his economy further. Marine Lord not too far off a tech off himself. If you look at the numbers, 700, 800 food, and already halfway on the gold as well. So he should be there in the next minute if he wants to go for it. And he'll look to raid him right now. Extracts value, sniping out 1-2 villagers. Able to back away in time, and we talked about this with M-Lord. Something he's phenomenal at doing is exactly this. Knight moves out a little bit premature, though. 3 French Knights versus the 1 English. This is not going to be a good trade. And the Archers getting the good trades versus the Spears, so Marine Lord definitely getting the better side of this fight. I love that detail by Cal. Even min-maxing with the villagers to try and fire from afar with their 5 damage, but at the end of it, his army falls, and Marine Lord's is still standing. Maybe jumping the gun a little here. I think the mistake from Kaup there is like you ride out with 1 knight. You have to show due respect. Not only are you outmasked by 3 royal knights versus the 1 English knight, but you also have to worry about the bonus damage from their charge. That bonus damage from their charge, by the way, actually evens up the difference. It adds enough damage in that they're comparative to Castle-Age knights. It's why you always have to give due respect to the French cavalry. And French cavalry will not give respect back. Charge in again. Blunts themselves on another villager. Going to clap down 1 or 2 more. Able to garrison a few, but the rest have to run further to safety. And it's delaying the gathering rates as well. And interestingly enough, still a lot of priority on this wood line from Kaup. He's not shifting to the eastern one, which is not being harassed at all. I think this is maybe a missed trick. Like, I don't know if in Kaup's mind, the reason he's doing this is because he feels if he runs to the east side, Marine Lord will just mirror him. But right now, he's getting harassed a lot heavier on his eco line than maybe he should be. Enough that M-Lord will be content with backing away. Still has the eco lead, remember, not only because he sniped out those villages, but also due to the fact that he was building them quicker himself as France. And now he has options. Guildhall underway in construction. He could try to go for a second TC himself. In fact, he's hard on the stone, so Marine Lord is doing it. This is one of 2 plays. He's either going for the forward keep drop, or he's going for a secondary TC. But given we're 12 minutes in the game, and your economy is only 47 strong, this should just be the secondary TC, which should allow him to keep an economical lead over Kaup, and then his goal is to drag out Castle as long as possible, preventing Kaup from accessing that power spike timing for England, aka Imperial Age. That's now 3 mills set up, so plenty of farmlands here. So Kaup is starting to escalate pretty quick. Remember, once you crack into castle, you really start to see the dividends being reaped by these harvest rates on your farms, so really big benefit. And like we said, it's so much cheaper for England as well. Most civs are paying 75 wood to get access to this. You're paying a mere 37. In fact, I'm pretty sure, like, I've seen people float strategies where you only attack 1 sheep as England and then instantly go farms, and it's feasible because of just how cheap these are. There we go, Marine Lord tech up complete. Second TC built as well. And that means not only is he going to maintain his eco lead over Kaup, he's now going to extend it. Because remember, with that tech up, he's now producing villages every 16 seconds compared to Kaup's 20 seconds on England. On top of that, he also gets any economical upgrades he chooses 30% cheaper. Whereas Kaup, to try and match him, will have to pay the full amount. Definitely a big stinger there. I love how he's just got the golden elephant. Spamming England with golden elephant. What is this heresy? I mean, I guess if there's any civ that's going to tame the elephant, it might be the English. Kind of fits. Now switching the man-at-arms, which have been teched up. And he did get the armor-clad. So this makes it a very effective frontline unit. For those that don't know what armor-clad does, it adds 2 melee and 2 missile resistance armor to your man-at-arms. So you can see up at 6 damage being mitigated from both ranged and melee. It's a pretty hefty margin there. Means these archers are doing no damage. Oh, they do 1. The game cuts you off at 1. Can you imagine how brutal Age of Empires would be if you could be reduced to 0 damage on a unit? Like, these archers literally do nothing against man-at-arms. Part of me, the sick part of me wants to see that. The masochist in me kind of wants to see that. But I know it would be broken. Oh, and the Knights, they snuck in. Marine Lord, he was trying to aggress, but now with the Wolves going up, he's missing his opportunity while he's being raided in his base. And there's not enough room for all the villagers. Nice move here, but crossbows in place to buffer away those Knights. And enclosure's complete, but my lord, we've sacrificed a lot of ground here. We've sacrificed a lot. Like, Kalpa has nowhere to expand right now. This is one of those things that people do where they make like a pretty fort and they feel good about themselves and they realize from like a strategic layer they have nothing to extract from. Because his gold is almost depleted. His woodlines won't last that long at this rate. And then what? Like, you only have one stone outcropping as well, so you don't have like keep spamming potential if you waste it at all. It does feel like Kalp has admittedly been forced to do this because of the paranoia of French raids, but also you don't want to do this. Like, it is so, like, you're balding at this point from having to do this. Oh, and Kalp. Kalp is going for religion here. So that will fix part of his issue of being condensed if he can actually get most of the relics. And it has to be said that Marine Lord is quick on the mark here. He's already picked up one relic himself and is looking to push out for more. Warlord player going to come out to force the scouts off, but he's going to need reinforcements. That Prelate Monk rather is going to die. I'm pretty sure 3 scouts can kill him quick enough, but it looks like Marine Lord is paranoid, so instead he'll back away. We have God Vision, right? We can see that he could have got away with that, but he doesn't know for sure. And it looks like there is going to be extension now, so Kalp looking to get some wiggle room. A lot of value in this backside as well. Double berry, double stone outcropping, one of them being a big fat one, and a gold vein as well. Very calculated by Kalp. He's not overextending. He's not being greedy. He's actually very reserved in his approach to this game so far. And like I said, I don't know if this is much the France versus England matchup, considering the win rates we just talked about previously, as much as it is a lot of respect to Marine Lord. I think Kalp has probably had this matchup plenty of times with this specific player, and he understands how good he is at hitting the tempo timing. So instead of just kind of gullibly running in like a headless chicken and getting decapitated, don't know how that works when you're headless chicken, instead, he's going to give ample respect, maybe a little bit too much respect over to Marine Lord, and play a very kind of calculated and slow crawl out in terms of how he extends his reach across the map. And that's why I love this play as well out of Marine Lord. Like, if his opponent won't come out to play, the best thing you can do is cap the Sacred Sites, force them to come out. This is the reason this exists. It's meant to be a counter to Turtley type players. Like, if you cap the Sacred Sites, they have to come out. They can't just sit back and twiddle their thumbs anymore. And that's exactly what Kalp wants to do because he wants that Imperial Age. Like, look at the numbers, folks. There's no denying this. Especially with the way he's built his base, it's all about Imperial. With this much farmland, with it all being padded and protected, he just wants to access enclosures and generate infinite gold from there. Man-at-Arms going to just push away the Knights as they try to breach through. No stone walls just yet out of Kalp. That could be a pretty valid option at this stage, though. Remember, Marine Lord maintaining that eco lead courtesy of the 2TC versus 2TC situation where he's France. Military force is big enough to buff away any big assault by Marine Lord for now. The Count does need to be a little bit careful. Doesn't really have the same degree of flexibility. When he's up against 8 of these French Knights, like, he's going to be pulled left, right, and center as he extends his eco further out. And that's something he's going to have to be conscious of. A little monkey boy sneaking out. So nice guard from the 2 Knights there. Will secure it, you'd think. But Marine Lord has sent the Royal Army. Everything in. And that is going to be 1 Knight falling, maybe even a second one if he's not careful. The Arbalatrias cannot stay in range long enough. I say that. If the Knight tries to attack a villager, they will, though. And the Monk is also going to be assassinated, so denial there. And that means that 3 of these relics, make that 4 in fact, will be going the way of Marine Lord, as Kalp was never able to get more than 1. And considering he had the monastery up first, that's crippling. And that shows you just how important it is to maintain midfield control. Something that Kalp has not really had any interest in doing since the start of Feudal Age. Now switch up on the Horseman. A solid solution to the Arbalatrias. He's going to need them to engage first because he's heavily reliant on man-at-arms now. Riding in. Soft underbelly of the Marine Lord formation is going to be shown, but they need to get for the outpost first. They'll focus fire onto it, burn it down quickly with the man-at-arms. That will force the engagement, and now man-at-arms having to run around the Horseman to reach into the Knights, not able to do so. But the man-at-arms are still chasing. Trying to gap close here, but it's so difficult. They gain a little bit of ground every time the Arbalatrias turn around to fire. Those Arbalatrias are shredding you every time they turn around. The Horsemen just trying to force them out more, but the Knights keep peeling back. They refuse to engage right now. And they will turn now onto the man-at-arms. A few crossbowmen also coming in from Kalp. Gonna force the French player further back, and Kalp is gaining a remarkable amount of ground. The question is, how are you going to maintain this pressure when it takes much longer for you to reinforce with new troops? Meanwhile, Marine Lord, he'll reinforce quicker, and the Mangonel comes out, catches him off guard. Marine Lord, he baits him in, and Kalp is stuck now. He can't run away. He'll try to shift around to the side to burn down the Magos, but there's too many Arbitries, and that means this fight is clearly going in favor of Marine Lord. The moment Kalp comes out, he gets battered back into his base. It's like a little game of whack-a-mole right now for Marine Lord. Oh, Caesar Kalp hits him over the head with a hammer. Caesar Kalp hits him over the head with a hammer. That's actually how it feels for Kalp right now. There is no move that he can make right now. Cut off on multiple fronts every time, running out of resources in the back of his base. He knows he needs to extend soon again, and that's why he took this aggressive maneuver in the center. He wanted to try and get into Marine Lord's lines and force him fully on the defensive like he did at the start of the game with the spears. But this is a very different scenario now. Like, Siege is in the field, and you haven't switched over yet. In fact, I don't think there's any Siege workshops still for the English player here. Instead, he's going hard on the Horseman. A respectable choice here. Considering your opponent is hard into Arbitries, and he's now going into the Siege, it feels a little bit haphazard to try and follow him into Siege, because he's still running up against these Knights that can easily tank the Horseman, wrap around, and burn your Magos down themselves. So instead, he's going to rely on the Horseman heavily to decide this fight. But you can see Marine Lord's not going to wait around. He's not going to let him get the infrastructure in place. He understands that right now, Kalp is likely in the middle of a transition, considering the bad fight he just took. And that might catch him off guard. Kalp with the military number advantage right now, distracted by an outpost on the west side that he has to get rid of. And Marine Lord, he might get access. He's got the keys to the base. The Mangonel will help get it down quicker. And when the gate falls, those Knights are going to flood through. I say that. Wow, Marine Lord incredibly hesitant here. Did not want to sacrifice the Knights despite the value he would have got behind on these farmers, because Kalp still doesn't have textiles. But instead, a lot of restriction shown. A lot of discipline out of Marine Lord as he will back away and set up the keep in the center. However, is it going to be quick enough? Kalp moving in now. He's about to see it. He comes through the tree line and he engages with the villagers. He does see it. But the Mangonel is going to be a problem as well, so he has to wrap around for that instead with the Horseman, and that means the keep is going to go up. And now he's in trouble. Kalp, he really can't take this fight anymore. The villagers garrison inside. The Mangonel is going to be targeted, but damage already found onto the crossbow formation. And the archer's backing away. Horseman still poking and prodding upon him. The problem, however, is there's not enough horsemen left. They're all dead. The Knights will be cleaned up. The difference maker now is the fact the keep is standing there, and Kalp is diving past it. And he's really not able to gap close either. And these crossbows are not going to be effective against this formation. Really big credit to Marine Lord doing something we never see players do anymore in Castle Age, and that's keep an equal composition of the range that involved archers, not just Arbitries here. And it really is the difference maker. Countering out the spearmen, countering out the crossbowmen, making it so damn hard for Kalp to take a win at the end of these fights. So much credit due. I mean, it's such a smart play. Like, I've been for a while now saying how archers feel terrible, right? Like, late game, archers feel absolutely redundant. Spearmen feel god. That's the weird difference maker, right? Like, spearmen can kind of just be the good tanky unit. We see them counter things like crossbows, cavalry. They counter so much. Archers, on the other hand, like, they only counter spears. And that's why they rarely ever get built later on in the game. Because in theory, they don't really do fantastic against anything else. But from a bang for buck perspective, they're really good traders, not only against the spearmen, but also against the crossbowmen. And you're enabled to do this if you're Marine Lord, because Kalp still doesn't have any archery ranges producing lombos, only crossbows. And that really is the difference. If there were lombos in the field, Marine Lord wouldn't have this in his composition. Arbitries would still be there because he needs it against the man-at-arms, but it wouldn't be as comfortable of a situation for him to take the range fights at the end of these engagements. And Kalp, well, he's upgrading the stone walls now, and this expansion, they're getting smaller and smaller each time he moves along compared to what he took last time. Like, you can see, he's just making negotiations. Marine Lord has just carved up another chunk of the map. He's like, can I take this little piece here? Marine Lord's like, no. Actually, if I get everything else. Kalp's like, deal. I hate you. And he'll still hate him. Because even though he gave you that area of the map, it doesn't mean he won't kill you. And not enough outposts. Kalp, he mismeasured this. He thought he was going to be safe to gather on this gold line, but he was wrong. And you know what? Actually, I would love to see Marine Lord get siege engineering and just drop a siege tower here. it wouldn't even be meaningful. Like, you'd actually get full access to this wall. You get the additional range, and you butcher all these villagers, meanwhile taking less damage from the outpost. But, it's a kind of funky side investment, right? Because you have to spend time and resources getting that upgrade. He is now getting it, so siege engineering coming through. Is this actually... Come, please, please. M-Lord, do it for me. Do it for the fans. We want to see a siege tower that doesn't feel like a meme. This could be the one. We'll have to see if he goes for it. It could just be the Rams, though. He could just breach the wall as well. That'll also give him access onto those walls. And it looks like Kalp has gone for a very defensive stone wall tower here, realizing the pressure is under. The siege engineering now complete. We should soon see what the plan is. First of all, Marine Lord setting up the central district. This is one of the benefits when you play as the French. Remember, the keep with the influence, it gives a reduction at this stage of the game of 25% on the cost of all cavalry and archer units. And Marine Lord now teching up. Of course, Kalp did sneak it while we were watching the battles ensue. But Kalp has finite resources. And this is why he needed it so badly. The enclosure is saving his bacon right now. As with 0 people on gold, he's getting quite the hefty sum, as we can see. Although that will go down somewhat. It was somewhat baited up by the gold vein. But a lot of this is just enclosures, folks. It's every 3.5 seconds you generate. And there are 42 farms here. Actually, more. There's more. Because I believe there's more stuck at the back. Yeah, there's even more back here as well. So you can see where that gold is coming in. Kalp probably going to get around, I want to say 800 maybe. Looks like actually 900, so pretty damn good. And Marine Lord, what does he do with all this control? He says, if I'm going to tech up, I'm going to stick a Red Palace in a very aggressive, obnoxious position. And this is really frustrating from Kalp. This means he can no longer access this area. He can't keep extending small chunks like he was previously. The Red Palace is absolutely lethal. This building, for those that aren't familiar, any unit you garrison inside it adds an arbalist, aka an arbaletrier. On top of that, it can have these cannon upgrades, which is just going to cause huge devastation for your outpost network. Also, your flimsy little palisade walls as well won't last very long. So make no mistake, folks, Marine Lord is here to stay, and Kalp, well, wiggle room required, but wiggle room no longer found. He needs to break out soon. Now, I have a feeling that one big fight is what it's going to take, and maybe all he has left. And the Knights, they go through. He didn't continue to wall this up. He's going to bait him into a choke point that Kalp doesn't necessarily want to be in. But look at this, the hand cannoneers. Kalp with a switch up. Finally, Longbow's coming out. At 27 minutes in the game, he'll build his first Longbows, but there's still more hand cannoneers than there are Longbows in the field. Now, archers, they're going to poke and prod at these villagers. Villagers that haven't stopped gathering in the meantime. Treb is going to focus far on the outpost network. But a lot of villagers dying here in Kalp's eco. And Kalp is just trailing by so much now. 91 eco to the 122. M-Lord just in a very dominant position now. And he will wall up himself, but look at the difference. Look at the space. In one foul sweep, look at the amount of territory he carves and claims fully as his own. So much more than what Kalp has. And then, of course, that's not even talking about the center mass where he's extracting all those trees. He's got the central keep with the full military district. And he understands that if this game does go late, he needs to extract these resources before Kalp can move out. And that's Kalp's limitation. Like, long-term, wood is the struggle. He has one proper wood line left, and that's it. Once that's gone, he's on life support. In fact, it kind of feels like he's on life support now. He needs an out, which is why he's amassing Trebs. Focus on the Red Palace, riding out the Horsemen, trying to deny the outpost from going up, but there it is. The Cavalier, the elite Royal Knights ride in, and they will take a damn good trade here. That's only veteran spearmen, so they can't instantly blitz this line. Instead, they're going to be forced back. They get rid of the outpost, but they don't get much more. And Mago shots now coming out will push him even further away. I wouldn't be surprised if M-Lord drops 2 or 3 siege workshops on the front here. Because he could counter Treb, he could counter Springald. Like, these are not stone walls, they don't protect. Ride in once more. Bracing coming up for spears on the side, but only gets a small group of knights. The rest ride in on the west side. Mangonel shots are coming out. Archer's trying to make the difference against the spear count. Horseman not able to breach and go for the range line. And that split, that spread, Marine Lord getting maximum impact damage here and barely any spearmen left to buffer him away. Down to 14 now. We'll back away for the moment. Treb's able to snipe out that Mangonel. As the Knights peel back, Kalp may have got a little bit of breathing room, but hand cannoneers now coming to the front for Marine Lord. And this is what Kalp needs. It's a Kalp keep. It needs to be a keeper. If he doesn't get this up, he's in big trouble. But look what's rolling onto the front. Marine Lord quick to switch up into the cannons. That is going to spell dire doom for Cal. And force a bad fight here. He has to go in. The Mangonel's taking shots again. Hand cannon is at the back of the formation for him. Wrap around, trying to reach the siege. But they're wasting so many troops to get to it. And even if the Mago doesn't get the shots itself, it's taking so many shots and so much damage away from the front line that Kalp is losing the main battle. The hand cannoneers get maximum impact for little damage to themselves. And the numbers are dwindling fast for Kalp, down to 50 military Marine Lords, still keeping that number with quality units, both hand cannoneers in mass and knights really being the difference maker here. Bombards, cannons, firing onto the keep, bringing it low and on fire. Repair crew trying to keep up for the moment. But the ranged battalion, time and time again, these engagements, at the end of it, that's the difference maker from Marine Lord. Horsemen push renews, but barely any this time. And the hand cannoneers will make short work of them quickly, just like they did with the keep, as the big boy cannons take it down. And now they'll snipe out the Trebs as well. And this is getting a little bit wonky for Kalp. He doesn't have the quality anymore. Look at the slog of units being pushed out. There's nothing here that really does a beefy amount of damage. He's got barely any hand cannoneers anymore, due to the fact that he's really stretched his economy thin. And he really needs counter siege now. He needs springalds in mass. But I don't think he can get him quick enough. Hand cannoneers moving in. Cannons starting to focus on infrastructure and retreating infantry. A lot of ground given over by Kalp, and Kalp can't afford to be in this situation. Remember, Marine Lord has capped all three of the sacred sites, so Kalp has to come out soon. Well, more importantly, Marine Lord might be going in soon. He's about to be pop capped again. Kalp is nowhere near ready either. And look at the difference here. One of them is floating surplus eco, the other is not. And look what Marine Lord is doing. He sees through the tree line. Oh no, Kalp, he's only got 71 wood, and he's about to be denied on his wood line. Meanwhile, they ride in on the west side as well, into the choke point where hand cannoneers can exploit this to their advantage. Trebs trying to snipe out any other siege on the other side. Frontline holding for Marine Lord, frontline folding for Kalp. The hand cannoneer count is too damn high, and with no mangonels to get rid of them, it looks like Marine Lord is going to turn this into a rout. And Kalp, no doubt, will see the writing on the wall here. His wood line is falling quick. His front line is falling quicker. And Marine Lord is quickly just plowing through the English base. And the cannons just getting rid of this infrastructure. The stables starting to fall. The siege workshops as well. I mean, it's just surgical. So well identified by Marine Lord. He may have not been the first person to field hand cannoneers, but it's looking like he's going to be the last. As Kalp is drained dry. No wood, no gold, barely any food. As England of all civs. And despite the best efforts of your farmers to keep you alive, you truly are on life support, and it just might be time to pull the plug. And when you see the amassment of spears now coming in, I think nobody can afford this medical insurance anymore. Kalp is gonna have to call this one, and Marine Lord will dominate with his signature France. On Kalp, he might fight to the bitter end, but bitter it was. Despite his best efforts, despite the negotiations, despite the amount of ground he was willing to secede to.
Now you're
French.
my sugar daddy.
Oh, hello. Hello. Kian, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it, bud. Much love. Shout out to Aussie Dronga for the raid in the middle of my post-game analysis where I was just about to say, what was I going to say? Damn, that's threw me off. Big appreciation. Love you, bud. No, really well played by Marine Lord, though. He completely just disintegrated Kalp. Kalp was playing very defensive from the outgo. And it comes back to my thought, like, how much of this was Kalp giving too much respect to Marine Lord versus being paranoid about France? I think a lot of it was respect given to Marine Lord for good reason. We saw exactly how good he is at dismantling his opponent. And I think the bigger issue here is, like, Kalp was never able to find, like, intrinsic raids. He boxed himself in, and if you're going to box yourself in so tightly like that, I think you need to actively raid your opponent's eco lines. Otherwise, what's the point? If you're already on the defense of your military force, what are these palisade walls really preventing? And I think that's the issue. Like, he's basically just taking these small chunks. Like, he's going to Marine Lord's like, please, sir, please, can I please have this tiny bit of land? And M-Lord at first like, whatever. Next time, he's like, no. This is not allowed. It is against what I see as acceptable. I'll top the red keep, and you run red with blood. And I don't know why I offended all French people there, but it was just dominant from him. Really well played. And M-Lord just reigning supreme as usual.